7 tools to feel more in control during a global event. So in our first part, if you've missed it, we have seen 3 reasons why we may experience fear during a global event. So you can go back and have a look at the previous video, which will explain you the 3 reasons why we may experience control. One of them we remember was that our brain somehow has some unknown pieces. There's pieces of the puzzle that are missing, and our brain is replacing these missing parts with fear. So the first tool that we can use is to replace fear with curiosity instead. So these pieces of the puzzle that are missing, instead of placing fear in this space, what if instead we were placing curiosity? Because the brain and the prefrontal cortex, all emotions are created equally, and the brain does not know the difference between fear and excitement or fear and curiosity. So what happens is, if you decide that it's fear, and we've seen that in the previous video, then your message, your body, your brain will pollute you with 1,400 chemicals to make you feel a certain way, and it's going to bring you down. These feelings are going to tell your brain to produce and generate another thought that can make you feel even worse. So if instead, whenever you experience that feeling, you say, oh, here's this feeling again. What do I want this to mean for me? Wait a minute. Why, instead of experiencing fear, I don't switch into a different gear and I say, I am curious as to how things will unfold, as to how it will happen that somehow we're going to be okay, that somehow this will get resolved. Because we don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. We cannot predict the future. So if we cannot predict the future, if we are making it up anyway, we might as well go into curiosity mode and try to fill in the blank with something that serves us, that makes us feel good right now. Because if you don't have you feeling good right now, you are not capable to face what is happening to you. You're not capable to face what is happening in the world. You need you at your best. In order to do that, you may need to start filling in the blank with things that are serving you. So the second tip, and this is a tip that I will borrow from Wonder Woman's mother. Tip number 2 is figure out what you are learning. If you're a superhero fan, because we are in the world of making up stuff anyway. So if we're going to make up stuff, let's go into a real superhero made up story. And remember what her mother said. She said, sometimes we don't see what we're learning until we are on the other side. So the goal here is to figure out, what are you learning? And sometimes we won't see it until we are on the other side. So you have to position yourself on the other side of this and say, okay, looking back a year from now, 2 years from now, what will I have learned from this? What will I have learned? So I try to figure out if every single experience in your life is an ally designed to bring you a gift, bring you a silver lining. If it had a purpose, if it has a positive learning, what would it be? So what are you learning from this? How will this event make you different, better? Okay, a positive learning. So find what is your positive learning. Tool number 3, if you find that you have no imagination as to, I have zero idea what I can learn from this, then go into tip number 3. Learn from your past experiences, because we have lived through different events. So go back into the beginning of the pandemic, March 2020. We were afraid. We did not know about the unknown. What have you learned during the pandemic? What changed for you? So find what it is that in the past, big events, big challenges, things that you went through in your business, in your corporation, in the association you are a part of. What did you go through in the past, and what have you learned from this? Is there any lesson that is still there in that special place you have for all your positive learning that could be serving you right now? So ask yourself, what have I learned before from my past experiences that could serve me right now? Tool number 4, what would you do if you were not afraid? So if it was not happening, what would you do? Because very often, and I do a lot of coaching for CEOs in big businesses, and they are stuck because they don't know what to move towards. What we need to understand is that time continues to lapse. So there's still a minute that is going to be elapsed in 1 minute. Time continues to go forward. So we need to figure out, what does the future hold is what we decide the future will hold, because no matter what, it doesn't really matter what happens. We need to figure out what we would be doing if this was not happening. How would we want our future to be? Because it is progressing anyway. We are moving forward, and we need to be moving forward. We cannot just stay on hold and wait, because the pandemic happened and some of us waited for a couple weeks. Oh, this will pass. A couple months, a couple years. It's been 2 years. It's not even over. So the future is happening right now. So we have to figure out how to continue to move forward. So what would you do if you were not afraid? Because things are going to keep moving. And the more you keep going, the more you keep moving into the direction you want to go, the easier it will be to cope or adapt with what is happening. Tool number 5, believe in what you can control. Believe in you, because you can always control you. So what do you know for sure? There are things that we know for sure that will happen, that have already happened. The price of gas went up. Okay, you know that. So we don't know yet if something else will go up, or if it will go up to $5 a liter. We don't know. But we know that in Canada anyway, it went up to over $2 a liter. Okay, we know that. What can you do about this? Can you walk more? Can you take the transit? Is there something you can do about it? So what do you know for sure? And what would you decide in your business, right? If like it will, what can you do that you can decide that will not change no matter what? Okay, so in your everyday, on your to-do list, if there's something that you're about to do and you say, well, I don't know, I can't control the event, so I better not do nothing and be stuck. Well, instead of that, ask yourself, what can I do that will not change anyway? Let's say that you're an entrepreneur and you're designing your website. Whether there's a war or not, your website will need to be finished anyway. So focus on the tasks that will need to get done anyway, because even though before the pandemic, we needed to move everything to online, well, you still will need a website no matter what. So are there some things that you can see in your future that you can control right now? So what can you control right now that will need to happen anyway? So, well, I'll focus on these tasks, and the things that may change because there's too much unknown, then I won't choose these to start with. I'm going to choose on what I can control. And me, myself, I can always control me. You can always control how you will react, and make sure that you go forward in the future with that curiosity that we mentioned as to, okay, how can I adapt? Because me, I can always adapt. I can control that. So try to figure out what is it that you can control and put your efforts into that. Number 6, focus on what is important to you. When you're trying to decide what it is that you should be doing, and you are stuck between a decision. Should we, even my husband and I right now, we are in Palm Desert, and we're thinking, of course, the thought, should we go back home? Instead of spending 2 months here? Of course we think about it. So start to focus on what is really important to you, what really matters to you, what are your blessings, because there are lots of people right now that are not home because they have to. So start comparing maybe yourself with people that are in much worse situation than you are, so that will help you stop feeling sorry for yourself and figuring out, okay, wait a minute, let's face it right now. Today I am safe. I have my health, I have my family, so what is it that you have, and what is really important to you? And start maybe adding on some tasks to your to-do list that maybe would not have been there if there was not this global event happening. So think about what you're thankful for, what you're grateful for, what is important to you, and focus on that, and focus on the things that you can do for sure that you know. And then the last one, you want to be feeding the right fire. So you may want to limit your news intake to the very strict minimum, just to learn to keep updated with what is going on. And it might not be a good idea to be continually connected to the constant negative news, because this might feed the wrong fire. So there's always, two parts of us that, what if this happens? Oh no, we're going to be okay. What if this happens? Oh no, we're going to be okay. So have a look at these two different pieces in your brain that might be fighting, and then choose which fire you want to feed and which fire you want to let it go to die. So which fire will you put the wood in to make it grow bigger, and choose that fire wisely. So hopefully this might have helped you into figuring out how to get back in control a little bit more of your feelings and of your life when we are facing a global event.